Did you run a helicopter tours business? What's it like to land a helicopter on a sandy beach? And what is it about the Robinson R44 helicopter which makes them so popular? Welcome back to Full Flap TV. Well, sort of. We're just in audio at the moment, but hopefully we can bring back video very soon. I'm Richard Midson, I'm a PPL and IMC, and with me today is Brett Campany, the owner of Wild Blue Helicopters in Western Australia. Hi to you, Brett.
Mate, how are we? We're back.
Very, very good indeed. I'm just trying to work out if you're in the morning or afternoon.
Well, I've got a wine in hand, so that must mean that we're in the afternoon in the wine region of Western Australia down in Margaret River.
Well, I was going to say, actually, just if we go onto Google Maps or something like that now, where should we be looking to find you on Google Maps?
Google Maps, just look at Margaret River, Western Australia, or the exact address is...
Margaret River, West... Ah, it came up straight away.
Bingo.
There we go. Right, so you really are...
the tourism hub of Western Australia. It's beautiful here, and we certainly get all over it.
Tell us, first of all, what really struck me, Brett, was a picture that you put on your website of you landing a Robinson R44 on the beach. What's that like?
It's fantastic, actually, and there's a funny story behind that, which we might get to in a minute. But landing on a beach is it's great fun. It's always a bit of a challenge. You don't know if you're landing on firm sand, soft sand.
Yeah.
You need to keep the tail pretty clear of any obstacles, of course, and then there's always the challenges of people in the area. So you've got to be very cautious where you go, but putting all the safety aspects and everything aside, once they're all lined up and all the ducks are in a row, mate, it's great fun. It's fantastic, and you can get to some absolutely isolated places around here. It's beautiful.
I was going to say, what are the rules about landing on a beach then for you?
There are, you do need to have prior permission from a variety of sources, so you've either got your local council or your shires, and we've also got another department here, Department of Parks and Wildlife, who look after the national forests and the beaches around the area. So you notify that. But, of course, in the event of safety, if you need to land, and that is the safest place for you to put down, then that's pretty much the best chance you've got of getting in there. Now, that circumstance there, those gorgeous pictures that you see on the Facebook page and the website, unfortunately, we had a gentleman in the back of the aircraft who was feeling a little seedy and a little unwell. There's a few tricks to flying in aircraft, and I'm pretty sure you know, Richard, as well, that you always have a good feed before you go flying. Well, this poor gentleman didn't.
Right.
And unfortunately filled 3 bags. But anyhow, that's another story. We did land on the beach. We found it was a bit of an issue, and of course, if your pilot goes down in sympathy, last thing you need is a pilot throwing up all over himself in the controls.
Still, nothing better than a nice beach to actually go and land on and get your senses back. I know you've also been landing at vineyards as well. I guess with that, and also operating a helicopter tours business, you're not just landing at international airports. You've got to think about, well, am I going to blow away the vines? The vineyard.
Yeah, there is quite a lot to consider. Yeah, there is, and especially now we've got the vintage coming up in the next few weeks. So the vines have been looking absolutely fantastic. We've got to be very careful where we go. In saying that, though, a lot of the wineries that we land at, Edwards Winery, Peachtree Winery, Woody Nook, Lewin Estate, Voyager, I mean, the list is huge. We've been to all of them, and we have dedicated landing spots there. Some of them actually have runways, but of course, being a helicopter, we don't need a runway, so they generally stick us on a lawn right out the front of the restaurant or the cellar door.
We've all kind of gone down approach paths towards runways, and here you've got a square on the ground, you've got some vines there, or you've got the beach there. How do you set up your approach when you're looking at that different sort of terrain?
Very much the same, mate. You still need to overfly your spot. You need to make sure that your landing spot's clear of any people or livestock, so that's always a bit of an issue.
I think we can hear co-pilot in the background there.
Yeah, he is. He's getting a bit excited. He always wants to make himself a bit of a star. But yeah, basically you still make your same approach. So you overfly, you ensure you got the wind directions right, the landing spot's safe and clear, and then once all that's good to go, you make your standard short final approach and come in. Now, some of the spots that we have are very steep, so you can do a steep approach, and there's actually one of them in Lewin Estate that we land right on the lawn out the front of the restaurant. It's pretty steep indeed, and you generally make a vertical approach coming down in between the trees. I mean, the trees are a couple of 100 foot high, so it makes it quite a challenge, and it's always a bit of fun to get in there.
Yeah, so you really are having to look out the aircraft on all the different sides, aren't you, just to make sure you don't you don't want to be touching anything with those blades.
Yeah, well, that's it. You certainly don't want to impact anything, but also we found in some areas, especially at Lewin, is that the wind can change directions very quickly. And of course, with the helicopter, certain directions you don't want the wind coming from, say you're behind you or your left quarter. And there's a lot of things to consider, like vortex ring state. You don't want to descend down into your own rotor wash. So everything's done very slowly, with a lot of thought, getting into it beforehand, before you actually get in there and get stuck into it.
Yeah. Listen, Brett, tell me about the Robinson R44. You're using this machine. What's it like to actually fly? What does it feel like? Rather than the technicalities, what's it like to fly?
Well, I mean, we've done our light sport aircraft, we've done our RAOs and our fixed-wing stuff in a Cessna 152, 172, any of those machines. Consider the R22 like a C-150. It's very much hands-on. It's a very twitchy machine. And as they say, if you can learn to fly in an R22, you can fly anything. With the R44 hydraulic controls...
And this is the four-seater, isn't it? So it's basically just a bigger machine.
Just a bigger machine, really, and that's pretty much it. It is hands-on. You certainly can't take your hands off the controls on these machines. They'll let go pretty quickly. They're a really nice machine to fly. They are very simple, in a way, being a piston. It's a really nice machine to fly. Two blades, so you don't have the stability, well, I wouldn't say stability, but you still got a bit of the vibration, the real raw flying feel of like your Jet Rangers as such. But I flew for Channel 9 TV station over here doing news media in an R44, and the downside of using the 44 is the amount of vibration you get when you're in the hover, or below about 15 to 13 knots, or ETL as it's called. You can get quite a fair bit of vibration, which affects the news. So, you know, it's but in saying that, you can still use it in a wide variety of aspects, and it's a multi-purpose machine. I mean, I've used it in news media, photography. We do quite a lot of surfing photography, low-level videography and media stuff. You know, you can get her into tighter spots, smaller areas, very visual, and a lot of fun. Really is a lot of fun.
Let's talk about some of the news. Just before we come back, because I'd like to ask you about what it's like actually running a helicopter tourist business in your part of the world, and indeed just as a market as a whole. A couple of things that caught my eye was that Beechcraft celebrating 50 years of the King Air. Seems incredible, doesn't it? That it's been it was the Model 90 that came out.
She's been around a while, and I mean that's a beautiful machine. I can't believe it's been 50 years already.
It's been one of the most successful sort of business prop aircraft, although it's now very much been challenged by the sort of modern lighter jets, isn't it?
It is, but we still see a lot of the King Airs in the area used by the Royal Flying Doctor Service, because Australia has such a massive area in itself that is inaccessible. The best way to get there, of course, is by fixed wing. And the King Air's done a superb job through Western Australia, the Northern Territory, and really around the country in a flying doctor role. Amongst other things, Defence still uses them, the Army still uses them for survey. I know our air services over here uses a King Air for calibration of NDBs and the likes. Mate, she's still going strong, and I don't think you'll see them phased out too soon, that's for sure.
No, I think it's just in the business market, isn't it, where people are going to be increasingly wanting to use jets as they become more efficient, and the lighter jets as well, the VLJs.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, just moving on, another one I saw is just the increase of the usage of the iPad. You know, there's no question that instruments on aircraft have been very expensive in the past, and it's incredible how something as relatively cheap as an iPad or these modern tablets can do this stuff now, isn't it?
It's brilliant. Now, if you bring up some of the photos we've got of our R44, I'm using an iPad mini with an app called Oz Runways. Everything is there. It makes flight planning so much easier. It's configured so that it has an integration with what we call here in Australia NAPES, where we put all our flight plans into. Right. Mate, it's the new way of flying, and it makes flying a lot easier. It takes a lot of the stress out of it, but in saying that, where's your backup? What happens if it goes wrong or the battery runs out? I'm lucky. I've got a charger in the R44, so she's all right, but still rely on those charts. But I love the iPad in an aviation use.
Let's move on. Quick mention of the Full Flat website as well, just before we ask Brett about the tourism business, the helicopter tourism business. There's a couple of new features going to appear there. We're going to be putting on a Q&A thing as well. And what my big bugbear about aviation is it's just too technical at times. So if you have got a question you want to ask them there because you simply don't understand what the heck all the rules and regulations are going on about, please do ask it there, and we will try and increase that and answer those questions. And then a few other tools are going to be going on there as well. Right, Brett, let's ask you about the helicopter tour business. How hard is it?
Well, it is hard, mate. It's hard in this day and age. You know, the economy, global economy, hasn't been flash. But if you've got the passion and the drive to showcase a region like the Margaret River region in Western Australia, it makes it a bit easier. But it's certainly a challenge, and we're up for the challenge. It's one of those bucket list things. Getting started out was the hardest. Getting your marketing, your business development, everything sorted out first. We actually started in the middle of winter here, and everyone said, "Why are you doing that?" And I thought, well, if we get everything in place first during winter, it means summer, all I have to focus on is flying and looking after the guests. So that's worked out pretty well in this case. We're very lucky in the way that in this region, I'm the only operator, but when I look at other, like our sister company, Hunter Valley Helicopters, Newcastle Helicopters, and Nelson Bay Helicopters over in the eastern states, they have that many competitors. It really starts to cut into your running costs, your profit margins. So it's a challenge, and if anyone ever tells you that tourism is easy, they're certainly lying. It's a hard case trying to get everyone in.
Brett, what is it that customers are looking for? Because I imagine a lot of people kind of would like to go for a flight in a helicopter. What is it they want from a helicopter tour?
Well, funny thing is, I'd say about 65% of them want the actual helicopter ride. And I think you could fly them over the Simpson Desert without any worries, with nothing to see but sand, and they'd be happy with that. And then you get about 30% who just want to go flying in the local region to have a look at, to see what's around. I get a lot of locals coming flying with me, which is great because they haven't seen their region for, from the air at all. So, it's a bit funny that the helicopter is an experience. I get a lot of guys who are in the oil and gas industry. They step into the R44 compared to an EC225 or AW139.
These are big helicopters, aren't they? These are.
Yeah, it's the real raw flying. Yeah. And I say to them, look, this is going to be completely different to what you've experienced before. So really, you could sum it up as an experience, without a doubt. And flying in the R44 is certainly an experience. Never had a bad one, touch wood. But I think that's mainly it. That's what you're looking at. It's a really, really good experience to get out there.
So it's a good flight, and people want to see stuff as well. So it's a science. It's having a good area. I mean, clearly from the photos, you've got a beautiful area to go and attract people with.
Oh, we've got a stunning area. We cover quite a lot of coastline. It's magical coastline.
Yeah, looking at Google Maps, you're right on the edge as well. You're very close to the coast.
Yeah, right in there. We're just south of a town called Cowarramup. On the Bustle Highway. It takes us about 3.5 to 4 minutes to get to the coastline, and we can cover the coastline. We cover that full Cape to Cape from Naturalist all the way down to Cape Lewin in about an hour and 15 minutes, and that's including the return trip. So we do that whole lot there in an hour and 15. We basically hit most of the coastline at 500 feet. We come up if it's a bit bumpy, but at 500 feet you'll see everything right in front of you. There's a lot of dolphins, a lot of wildlife. Hamlin Bay has a lot of stingrays in various areas there, so you get to see all of that, all the pristine beaches and isolated beaches, plus all the vineyards, the wineries, the small towns, and I mean it's the best way to see it, mate. It really is.
What about the marketing? I was fascinated because you've got a really good relationship with the tourism department because you're able to provide them with photos just while you're taking clients on trips that they couldn't access apart from a very, very expensive price. So you've got a good way to develop a relationship with them for them to send people to you in return for a few photos, which frankly aren't costing you any more.
Yeah, well, that's it. As soon as we get up and about on our scenic flights, we use anything from a GoPro camera to your iPhone cameras to get photos. And like you say, it is expensive. You're looking at about $1,200 an hour to run a machine. And with that, these guys can't afford to go and pay for that. And if you showcase the region from the air and it gets the interest of people who've never been here before, then we may end up getting some of those people down to fly and see it from the air for themselves. Yeah. It's a really good relationship. Certainly, you've got to get on board with your tourism commissions. We've got two of them here, margaretriver.com and Geograph Bay Tourism. So we're members with both of those guys. But I have to say, mate, in this day and age, social media's the way to go.
Yeah.
We've got a Twitter account, we've got a Facebook page.
Yeah. Go on, Brett. While we're at it, mention some of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you start off with our website, so wildbluehelicopters.com.au, and then if you look at Wild Blue Helicopters on Facebook, Wild Blue Heli on Twitter and Instagram, we're all over it. Even if you just Google Wild Blue Helicopters, we'll be the first ones that come up. Check it all out, jump on board, have a look at some of the photos and the videos that we do, and then when you get the chance to, come down and experience it for yourself. It's certainly what we're
mate. I would love. I have to say,
my understanding is that you've had your arm twisted a little bit. So
my arm is up around my back and around my neck. Yeah, no, we're on our way at some point, no question about it. Listen, just before we finish, very quick mention of the fact that you've actually had some people proposing to each other, haven't you? Or one, presumably the man proposing to the girl, or the other way around, even.
Mate, I've had about 8, 9, 10 proposals. Had to say no to all of them, but anyhow, you know.
I knew you were going to say
that. Listen, we do. It's a really nice thing. I mean, it's all set up. A lot of them are set up as surprises. We land in secluded little areas. We have a lot of agreements with people who do hampers and wine packages, and it's nice landing on a beach with a couple of nice big cushions and a blanket there where the question's dropped. We've even had the question dropped in the helicopter. I've seen people put, "Will you marry me?" on a beach over a 200-meter strip. Can you imagine digging that out? It's brilliant. It is brilliant. And I tell you, it's a big, warm, fuzzy feeling when you get to be part of that, because you're going to be part of that for the rest of their lives.
Well, if I tie in a knot, I know where I'm coming then.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, we'll sort it all out for you. We'll have the wine ready, the hamper. Right, we'll look after you.
Brett, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, mate. Really appreciate it today. Thanks very much for being so frank about the industry as well.
It's a beautiful industry. You've got to love it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. In the meantime, don't forget, you can find all the links on fullflap.tv, on Twitter for ourselves as well, at fullflap.tv, and also YouTube, FFTV Aviation. If you'd like to be a guest, go to the fullflap.tv website. There's a page called Be a Guest with all the information on there as well. So you've been listening to me, Richard Medson from fullflap.tv, and Brett Campany from Wild Blue Helicopters. Have an absolutely fantastic week.